Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something you've probably dealt with your whole life, but maybe never really thought about: academic language. We're going to dive into how researchers actually study the very specific ways we talk and write in the world of knowledge. So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with what academic language even is. Then, we'll look at the communities who use it, the textual blueprints they follow, and some seriously cool high-tech tools used to analyze it all. We'll wrap things up by seeing how all this research actually helps learners and how it can even reveal hidden power structures. Okay, so first things first, what is academic language really? Is it just about using big, complicated words to sound smart? Well, not quite. It's actually way more interesting than that. It's kind of like a special code that unlocks a whole world of learning. When you boil it right down, academic language is the specialized toolkit we use to talk about complex thoughts and abstract ideas. It's the language of reasoning, of analysis, of building a structured argument. You could almost say it's the official currency of education.
But here's the thing. Language doesn't just exist in a vacuum, right? It's a social thing. It's created and molded by groups of people working together. So to really understand the language, you've got to start by understanding the people.
And that brings us to this key idea from a linguist named John Swales, the discourse community. Think about any group with a shared purpose. Biologists, lawyers, even diehard fans of a specific TV show. They all end up developing their own unique ways of communicating to get things done.
And these communities, they're defined by a few key things. They've got shared public goals, their own special jargon, and established ways to talk to each other, like academic journals. This whole structure is what helps them use very specific kinds of texts, what linguists call genres, to achieve their goals.
So, if these communities use specific texts to get what they want, what do those texts actually look like? Are there patterns or blueprints they follow? The answer is a huge, resounding yes.
Now, in linguistics, a genre isn't about movies or music. It's basically any communication blueprint designed for a specific purpose. A lab report, a business proposal, a restaurant review, they all follow a predictable structure. You know what to expect. And each little step in that structure is called a move. And this right here is one of the most famous genre models out there, also from John Swales. It's called the CARS model, for Create a Research Space. He found this simple, three-move pattern in pretty much every research introduction. First, you establish a territory to show the topic matters. Second, you establish a niche by pointing out a gap in what we know. And finally, you occupy the niche by declaring how your research is going to fill it. It's a remarkably consistent and powerful rhetorical pattern once you start looking for it.
Okay, so we can see the big moves in a genre. But what about the deeper, often invisible patterns in the language itself? To find those, we need to scale up, big time. We need to go from analyzing just a few texts to analyzing millions and millions of words all at once.
This was a massive shift in how language research gets done. Traditionally, a linguist might spend weeks closely reading just a handful of articles. But now, with computational power, we can analyze enormous collections of text to find statistical patterns that no human could ever spot on their own.
Welcome to the world of corpus linguistics. A corpus is basically a huge, organized digital library of texts. By analyzing these, we get hard evidence of how language is actually used in the wild. This method is how we discovered that the word awful originally meant worthy of awe, before it totally flipped to its negative meaning, a change you just never find with intuition alone. And analysts have a powerful toolkit for this kind of investigation. They can run frequency lists to see which words are most common. They can search for collocations to find words that are frequent travel buddies, like strong with evidence. And they can use concordances to pull up every single instance of a word in its original context. It's really like having a microscope for language.
Okay, this is all fascinating for linguists, but what's the practical payoff? Well, this technology has completely revolutionized language teaching and learning. This is where learner corpus research, or LCR, comes in. Researchers build these huge corpora made entirely of essays, presentations, and other work produced by language learners. It gives us an incredible window into the learning process itself.
By analyzing these learner corpora, we can identify the most common mistakes and challenges that students from specific language backgrounds face. And that data, it then helps create smarter textbooks, better dictionaries with specific error warnings, and even lets students become language detectives themselves through something called data-driven learning.
So we've seen the communities, the blueprints, and the building blocks.
But there's one final crucial perspective we need to consider. We can't just describe how language works. We also need to ask, what does it do out in society?
And that is the job of critical discourse analysis. These approaches ask the tough questions about power. Who gets to decide what correct academic language is? Whose voices are heard and whose get silenced? How does certain ways of speaking and writing end up maintaining social inequalities?
The key takeaway from looking at these principles is that analyzing discourse is never a neutral activity. Like the caption says, this approach directly links language to ideology and social action. It's a huge reminder that our words are deeply tied to the way society is structured.
And this leads to the most powerful idea of all. Discourse is a form of social action. The ultimate goal here isn't just to describe the world, but to potentially change it by exposing and challenging how language is used to create and maintain power imbalances.
And that's our tour of the toolkit for decoding academic discourse. From the communities that create it, to the blueprints they follow, all the way to the critical questions we can ask about its impact. It's a powerful reminder that the words we use to build knowledge also end up shaping our world. Thanks for tuning in.